Today I want to show you a video titled "The Remote Work Crash is Coming and No One is Prepared." It's on this channel called Reventure Consulting. It looks like this channel is mostly about housing, mortgages, real estate, that sort of stuff. But in this video, he talks about why
the collapse of remote work is coming and it's going to have a devastating negative impact.
And the reasons he gives, I just plainly disagree with. Like, one of them is,
while employees love remote work, managers and supervisors and employers don't seem to like it so much. This July 2021 article from Forbes, which I'm going to have a link to in the description, shows just how much supervisors and managers don't seem to like remote work. Nearly 70% of managers replied the remote workers are, get this, more easily replaceable than on-site workers.
Yeah, I mean, that's what managers say, because they're the replaceable ones. A lot of managers are suddenly realizing their job isn't needed. So I could see a manager saying, yeah, you know what? They're replaceable, when the reality is usually it's the other way around. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing productivity on the rise and managers freaking out because they no longer have anything to do really anymore, and their jobs are actually being eliminated.
72% said they would prefer all of their subordinates to be working in the office.
Most companies that do remote the right way understand that it's about output, transparency, communication, and expectations.
Get this! 42% of supervisors say they have sometimes forgotten about remote workers when assigning tasks. And so we have managers and supervisors very clearly saying, we don't really like remote work. We have a harder time corralling our team. It's harder to lead our team. I forget about remote workers when assigning tasks sometimes.
Like, that's not our fault because we're remote. It's management's fault. If management is incompetent and can't figure out how to manage a remote workforce, that's on them. That doesn't mean remote itself is bad. That just means management is terrible. I think those of you that watch this channel that work remote jobs and like where you work understand that it's about management and them giving you the autonomy to do what you need to do. 42% of managers say they forget about remote workers. Why are you forgetting about any of your workers? You're the one that needs to be trained. It's not the employee needing to be pulled back into the office. You see, this is like gaslighting almost. It doesn't matter if my manager and supervisor hates it. Give me a good reason why you hate it, because it doesn't seem like you have any other than you can't see me.
With managers and supervisors saying that remote workers are replaceable and that they forget about remote workers and that they would rather people be in the office, what's the next logical step?
To retrain management.
I'm sure many of you are familiar with outsourcing based on what happened to America's manufacturing industry in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Many people working in the Midwest in big steel factories or car factories lost their jobs because those jobs got outsourced to places like China and India.
I've seen comments that also kind of echo what this guy is saying, like it's easier to be outsourced if you work remote. But my line of thinking is this. Do you think your company will suddenly not outsource you if you decide to drive to the office? I don't think they will care. If the company has prioritized saving money and profits now, your willingness to commute back to the office and not be remote anymore, I don't think will matter to the higher-ups. Oh, Bob in accounting has changed his mind? He wants to come back in? Okay, we'll pay him more money because he's local and wants to come back and commute. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And even if you were in the office coming to work every day, they could still outsource you and fire you. It doesn't matter if you're remote. There are other reasons that companies don't go remote. One of the reasons would be like security clearances, information, laws, regulations preventing certain things from leaving the country. Another reason I think that companies choose not to outsource is because of, well, there's differences in the standards of work quality. There's differences in languages and communication, translation errors, things like that, and the differences in time zones. All of that can kind of add up to be like, I'll just pay someone here.
When their job then gets outsourced to India for a cheaper rate, what are these people gonna do? I'll tell you what they're gonna do. They're gonna put their house up for sale immediately. They're gonna move to a city where they have better career prospects. They're gonna move to a city where they're closer to friends and family and can stay with their friends and family when they're jobless.
I think I just flat out disagree here. I would like to think that software engineers, people in IT that are working remote, are smart enough to know that they should have things on backup, side hustles, job applications, savings, those sorts of things. That's why a lot of people go remote. So it's cheaper for them to live and they can just stack up saving. I'd like to think people are smarter than this. And as we move on, I think more and more people are waking up to this reality too. Like, no job is ever really a sure thing and I should always have something on standby. I don't think they're just like, all right, I'm moving out into the middle of nowhere and I'm gonna stick my head in the sand except when I have to work. I don't really think people are doing that.
The result is going to be US corporations who are at their heart a profit maximizing machine. The result is going to be cutting costs, cutting expenses, and laying off a huge amount of remote workers.
What's with the emphasis on remote workers, laying off a huge amount of remote work? They won't care. If companies want to cut costs, they'll just cut costs. Like, why would they separate the two? It's actually more expensive for them to have an office and employees in the office and pay for all those amenities. It would be just cheaper to eliminate the in-office workers first and then the remote workers. So I think it would be backwards.
I think most people understand is just how easy it is right now to hire people from across the globe. You can now go into India and hire someone to do the same thing in the US for 3 times cheaper.
So my argument here is just because you can, it doesn't mean you have to, or doesn't mean you should, or doesn't mean that's what you do. Like, yeah, sure, there are lots of options. I can go get lots of things for cheaper at other places, but I don't. And there's lots of reasons why. And it's the same for work. Just because I can go hire someone to do this for the cheapest possible doesn't mean that's what I want.
So for instance, I typed in web development on Upwork.com looking for someone to help maybe with web development or mobile apps, and Deepak in India popped up. He charges $25 an hour. His skills include PHP, MySQL, JavaScript, data scraping.
It's interesting that he highlights Deepak here for $25 an hour when a lot of companies in the US pay less than that. So actually, you know what? Just let me show you real quick. They want you to be a mobile dev for Android and iOS. They want you to do websites with JavaScript, Angular, jQuery. They want you to be able to do Drupal, PHP 7, MySQL, XML, automation processes. You see what I mean? Like, come on.
But I don't think it's going to happen overnight. It's not going to be like in the next 3 or 6 months we'll see all of the...
It definitely didn't happen in 3 months, because this is November 26, 2021.
Slowly but surely, incrementally over the next year, 2 years, 5 years, we're going to see more and more US corporations downsize their workforce in favor of the flexibility and cheaper costs associated with freelance remote work.
Maybe. It really depends. Some people actually want to have employees, and that's the only way that you can offer healthcare is if you have them on as employees W-2. If you pay them as freelancers or contractors, you can't offer them benefits like that. They have to manage that on their own. And maybe some companies want to deal with that, but some companies like to have people on payroll as they need them to do things. And some people actually like working like that. So I feel like it's a bold statement to say a lot of companies are going to stop doing that in favor of just paying people for one-off deals. Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. Don't go raid his video, okay? Don't go try and ratio his video. If you'd like to see more videos of me calling out kind of corporate nonsense, like those articles he was reading, subscribe to the channel because we love to do that here. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you in the next one.